Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you guarantee that there won't be a single environmental regulation weakened after Brexit?
Yes, I think I can. The bill, the concerns that you just described that have been expressed by a lot of environmental groups, I hope will be put to rest as a consequence of the publication of this bill. It is a landmark bill. It is a world-leading bill. It guarantees a number of things. It guarantees that our standards at least will not go down. Preferably, they'll go up, they'll improve. And it guarantees that there will be a new regulatory system, a new body, an independent regulator, whose job will be to hold government and government departments and local government and public bodies to account.
And I suppose it depends what kind of powers that new body, the Office for Environmental Protection, has. Yeah. Will it be able to initiate legal cases against the government?
Yes, it will. I mean, that's central to what it will exist to do. It'll scrutinise government legislation and it'll also take complaints. And where it feels that there is a need for challenging the government, it will do so through the courts. And it will have the power to, through the courts, to issue injunctions. It will be able to secure the right to quash legislation, for example, that is not consistent with the aspirations and the rules set out within this bill.
Will it be able to impose fines for rule breaking?
No, it won't be able to issue fines. But then, in a sense, who are you fining? It's government fining government, and the money going where? I understand the arguments for that, but it's
because it happens now, doesn't it? Under EU rules, the government's faced heavy fines for failing to meet air quality standards.
It's not. That's correct. It's not a neat system for the government to be able to effectively fine the government. But I think that if a department faces the prospect of its new legislation being overturned by court as a consequence of the intervention by this new, tough, independent body, that is a huge disincentive to get it wrong.
Wouldn't financial one, I take your point that overall it's still all the government money, but taking money out of a department's budget, wouldn't that have some kind of impact?
Yeah, there are arguments about that. My view is that the power that this body has is enough to ensure that governments play by the rules and that departments play by the rules. I think it is. I had a note from one of the people who's been campaigning hardest for this body, an outsider, an environmentalist, saying I asked for legislation with teeth, a new body with teeth, and you've sent us a great white shark. And I think for most of the people who've been campaigning on this, if not all of them, this is really good news.
Well, we don't have to protect the great white shark in the UK at the moment.
But global warming.
True, but there have been huge declines in our wildlife. Of course, yes. Partly by global warming, but also because of loss of habitat. Will there be legally binding targets for nature recovery in the same way that we have for climate change?
Yes, so this bill, and you're right, we've had a shocking collapse in biodiversity in my lifetime over the last 45 years or so in this country. Really shocking. It's mirrored, by the way, around the whole world. The figures are more or less the same. We are denuding the planet at an extraordinary pace. This bill will set a duty on government to set those biodiversity targets.
A legally binding one.
Legally binding biodiversity targets, not just biodiversity, certainly also targets in relation to air, water and waste. So it is not a power to do so, it is a duty to do so.
But what about the monitoring again of that? The body which is required to do so, Natural England, says its budget's been cut in half. It can't do the basics now, never mind police major new targets.
Well, the body whose job would be to hold government to those targets legally would be this new body we're setting up, the Organisation for Environmental Protection. It would
but
look
Natural
at the
England
targets.
does have an important role,
of course, all these agencies do. And Natural England has a hugely important role, as does the Environment Agency, as do a number of other organisations, as do, by the way, civil society. I mean, organisations will be able to file complaints via this organisation and take government over the coals if the government's getting it wrong.
Of course, a huge factor in all of this more generally is air travel, and you're known for your opposition to Heathrow expansion. Are you still planning to resign if it goes ahead?
Well, I've already resigned. I've already resigned when my pledge to my constituents was that I would resign if Parliament or government gave a green light to Heathrow expansion. That happened, and I resigned. And you may remember I was booted out in the subsequent by-election. So that decision has been taken. I certainly haven't promised to keep on resigning over the same issue, but my views on Heathrow are the same. I don't think Heathrow stands up to the kind of scrutiny that projects of that scale are usually subjected to.
And finally, you've been known for your strong views on Brexit. The chair of the European Council at the moment, the Finnish Prime Minister, says there's not enough time to get a deal before the summit. Would you be prepared to accept a short technical extension, if you like, just to seal the deal?
But see, I don't think an extension is necessary. If both sides wish to secure a deal can be secured. It's a matter of political will. Where there's a will, there is a way. And that has never been more true than in the case of Brexit. And I think it is really important that we don't continue to extend and extend and extend, which is what we've been doing for the last few years, because there are issues of trust there. But even beyond issues of trust, I don't think it serves our interest as a country to be in a permanent state of division and paralysis. We've got to get this done, and October the 31st matters.
Zac Goldsmith, thank you for talking to us.